Rumor bomb coming in! Looks like there is a rumor out there on the internet about Zelda, so let's talk about this. This was published by express.co.uk, and it says, reports are claiming that the next Zelda game could be announced soon for the Nintendo Switch. This is what I'm all about. This is why I'm here. I'm here specifically to talk about Zelda games. I love Zelda, and I love rumors that encourage the fact that there could be more Zelda games. So let's talk about this, all right? But before we get into this new Zelda game, let's talk about the other part of this rumor. It's rumored as well that we are going to be getting Twilight Princess HD and Wind Waker HD for the Switch. All right, got a lot to talk about, so let's get into this. First, I got to take a deep breath. That is a lot. I'm really pumped, and I'm fired up about this. So it looks like that this new Zelda game is not going to be a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild, which is super cool. It's very rare that Nintendo actually makes a direct sequel of a game when it comes out. In fact, I think the only time they did that is with Majora's Mask, but this is just me going off the cuff right now. I can't think of any, actually, no, I lied. Yep, A Link Between Worlds. All right, there it is. There's a couple of them out there, but it's rare that they do this. But they're saying that this is not a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild. That's fine. You know, I don't care. It's Zelda. That's what I care about. But, you know, Zelda has been out for 2 years now. It's not a new game by any means. And the reason why Breath of the Wild took so long to develop in the first place, if you listen to interviews with the creators, they said that it was mainly because they rewrote the physics engine from the ground up. And they had a lot of problem with the ruins. As you can imagine, with that kind of gameplay, it's going to be really hard to work with the physics engine and making sure that nothing is conflicting with any other objects in the world. So it took them really long to get that into place, but they have that now. That code is rewritten, and they usually keep the same physics engine when they're working on other games. So they don't have to rewrite that beast of a script anymore. Now, the only thing that they really have to focus on is creating a new story and developing art assets for the game. That's pretty much all they have to do. And it also kind of depends on what they want to take and get rid of from Breath of the Wild. I mean, is the combat going to be the same? Same damage done by swords? Are they going to increase, decrease health? I don't know. That kind of stuff, it's up in the air. But that kind of scripting and programming for these video games, it's not a complicated thing to do. So really, there's not much work to go in at this point. Now, I don't think we're going to be getting this game this year. I think this will be slated for the end of 2020. That's what I'm betting. You know, and that's going to be approaching the 4-year mark. I don't think it's going to come out this year, especially when we have Pokemon Sword and Shield coming out. And I think E3 is going to be focusing heavily on Sword and Shield. So it's either going to be an early release for 2020, but more likely it's going to be end 2020 is when we're going to get this new Zelda game. But I could see them announcing something at E3, a little tease, and then it'll be something that we'll talk about for months and months and months and months and not get it for another 18 months. But it's exciting nonetheless that there is a new Zelda game in development and that we have the potential of learning a little bit more about what that game could entail. I am a huge fan of Breath of the Wild. It is one of my favorite games, no doubt. I enjoyed it so much. Everything was a surprise. The world had its own character. Every part of that world had a secret, a surprise, a puzzle, something to find, something to learn. You would be on your way trying to complete one objective and get sidetracked by a tower or a shrine or some light glooming in the background, and you're just curious what that is. You are just constantly overwhelmed with tasks to do in that game, and I just adored that. I love that they did the voice acting, something different for the franchise. I love that they put in this giant open world game and there is no restrictions. You can do anything. You don't have to do any shrines. You don't have to go to any divine beasts. You can roll up immediately and start beating the crap out of Ganon only to die because you're not powerful enough. They did so many great things with this game, and they had a great opportunity by playing all of these other open world games and picking and choosing what worked and what didn't work and then putting it in their game. Now, this is their first attempt at an open world game since the initial Zelda game on the NES. So there's a lot of new mechanics and a lot of new features introduced in this game. There's some things that they took away from the Zelda franchises, like temples. We didn't really get temples, we had shrines, and I love the shrines. They're just quick 5-10 minute puzzles, and there's so many of them, and most of them are unique and different, and they're never the same twice, unless it's like the major or minor tests. The Divine Beasts could be argued that they are the temples of the game, but I don't really see them as that. They are just simple puzzles that take 30, maybe 40 minutes to complete. Regardless, I enjoyed them, but I would love to see the temples in this game. I would also love them to fix the rain in this game. Trying to climb a mountain in the middle of nowhere and getting struck by lightning, or couldn't climb because it was slippery. Fix that, Nintendo. But this game has so much strength to it. There was nothing in this game that made me say, this game isn't worth playing. There's just so much good, so many pros that outweighed the cons that you just can't help but enjoy yourself on this adventure. A couple of things that they could fix though, bring in those temples. The combat system is pretty good, but the weapons that they break too easy. I love that they break and you can't keep the same weapon throughout the entire game. But the fact that they break so easy, that's the problem. I'm replaying Breath of the Wild at the moment in Master Mode. And if you haven't done that, stop playing Zelda, restart it in Master Mode, because that is the best way to play this game. It is such a challenge. It is one of the hardest things that I've ever done in any Zelda game. The first 10 hours of the game, I struggled because I could not fight anybody. There is a level 3 Lionel on the Great Plateau, just to give you a flavor of how hard this game is. Anyways, the weapons, they break too easy. In Master Mode, I couldn't, for the first 10 hours, take on anybody, not even a simple Bobokin. Anything I found would break instantly, and there'd be 4 of them, and I couldn't even take out one of them. So you really have to reapproach the situations and use your mind over your weapons. So you'd have to outsmart a lot of these guys in order to beat them. And, that's still the case now. I still can't just jump in and beat up all these Bobokins like they're nothing. They're really difficult. And I love that. But the fact that the weapons break so easily, that is the hardest thing about this game. And I think that that's got to be something that Nintendo should fix with this new update. Now, in terms of story, what I would really like to see, I would like to see more story fleshed out. And there is a story in Breath of the Wild, but you collect it with pieces. You know that there's, this great fall, everybody died, big war. But I would like to see more story, more development, and more of the voice actors. I just loved that. There's so much emotion in these Zelda games, and sometimes we can't capture the emotions of these characters because we have to read it and imagine what these characters are saying. And sometimes they don't really express themselves exactly how they feel. And sometimes they don't express themselves the way that we should be interpreting them. The voice actors did a great job. I don't think they did wonderful. I don't think they were the best actors in the world, but to be able to portray the emotions, Princess Zelda, just listening to the worry and the concern in her voice really made an impact on the story overall. I finally felt like Zelda had much more to give and much more to offer in these games. And I want to see more of that. I want to see more voice acting, more emotion. Zelda is an emotional story. It always has been. It's quirky, it's whimsical, but also there's a lot of emotion to it, and it needs to be conveyed through these voice actors. So I'd like to see more of that as well. Nintendo, throw it in there. All right. My mouth is dry, but we've still got a couple of things to talk about. Twilight Princess and Wind Waker. Here's the thing. I am really excited that there's a potential that both these games could make their way to the Switch. However, both of those games were ported from other consoles. Wind Waker came from GameCube, Twilight came from GameCube and the Wii. We got them both for the Wii U, which was astonishing. Having both of those games, both HD, you could experience them in a new light. Wind Waker is absolutely stunning. The graphics are so beautiful. They made me want to play more of the game because of the art style. The heart of that story is just so captivating. Twilight Princess is so insane. It is dark. I love that Nintendo decided to take a dark turn on this light-hearted franchise. They were experimenting. They did a lot of good things. They did a lot of weird things. They did a lot of bad things, but overall, it's a great game, and I enjoyed it. Playing both of those HD, magnificent. They even fixed a lot of the problems with the previous versions. Wind Waker, for example, that Triforce hunt at the end of the game sucked balls, but they fixed that in the HD remake. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Fix the garbage from these old games and make them better. My only concern, my only beef about a port of a port is that Nintendo could sell both of those games individually as a premium price. And that's not cool. That's not fair, Nintendo. So many of us bought both of those games on their original consoles for the $60 price tag, and then a handful of us who bought a Wii U paid that premium yet again for both of those games. And I don't want to pay another $60 for Wind Waker. And I don't want to pay another $60 for Twilight. I think both of those games should be bundled. They need to be one cartridge, both games, and it would be wonderful if you could sell it for $30. You know, I'm sure you could get away with selling both games for $60 and people would be okay with that. I would be okay with that because, you know, theoretically you're paying for each game at a $30 price tag. And that's not bad. That's not a bad deal. But, you know, we paid for these games. You've made your money off of these games and then made more money off of them from your ports. Don't screw us. Video games are an expensive hobby, and there are so many games coming out that we all want to purchase, but we have to pick and choose which ones we want to invest in or which ones we want to get first. I would like to play these games again. I would very much like that. But if it's going to be a $60 price tag, it's going to be a game that's just going to have to be on hold until it's either cheaper or until I buy these other games that I've been anticipating first. Anyways, it's really exciting to be a Zelda fan. That means we could have Breath of the Wild, the new sequel, well, not a sequel, but the new Zelda game coming out, 2 HD remakes, and A Link to the Past. Actually, that's another HD remake. But that's 5 Zelda games on the Switch console. That is what I'm talking about. Get me those Zelda games on the Switch. Because I've said it before, you know, I am an adult, I've got responsibilities, I don't have time to sit home and play all of these games like I used to growing up. I'd come home from school and spend hours playing video games, but now as an adult with a job with responsibilities, I have things that I've got to do, and video games, unfortunately, is not the top of that list. Switch is the best place to play these games, any game, to be honest, because they give me the freedom to play them when I have the time. So, let that be. I'm very excited about the potential of these new Zelda games, and I can't wait to see if they're true. E3 is right around the corner, and it will be exciting to see more footage of Link's Awakening, a possible teaser for the new Zelda game, and the potential remakes of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess at a bundled price. You know what I'm talking about?